On day 29's journey, we considered the timing of King Jesus' return. While we do not know when he will return, we do know that he will return and that we are called to live in a state of constant readiness for his return. On day 30 of our journey, we consider the character of King Jesus' return. We do so by comparing Jesus' first coming with his second coming, and we see just how different these two comings will be. The Apostle John's vision of the ascended and glorified Jesus give us the following glimpse of what this grand event will be like. I saw someone like a son of man, dressed in a robe reaching down to his feet, and with a golden sash around his chest. The hair on his head was white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were like blazing fire. His feet were like bronze glowing in a furnace, and his voice was like the sound of rushing waters. And coming out of his mouth was a sharp, double-edged sword. His face was like the sun shining in all its brilliance. Each year during the Christmas season, we look back in time to remember Jesus' first advent or first coming. But do you live each day with ongoing awareness of his second advent? Do you live in a state of constant readiness for his return? It is important that you do, for Jesus' second coming will bring history as we know it to a climactic conclusion, and it will usher all of us, both those who are alive at that time and those who are dead, into our eternal existence. That existence will either be with God in the new heavens and earth, or it'll be an existence in hell where we are experiencing God's wrath and judgment that is forever poured out upon us. Let's take a moment to compare Jesus' first and second comings. Jesus' first advent was not noticed by many people. Only a few local Jewish shepherds and later some wise men, some Gentiles from the east, came to see the newborn king. And throughout his life, from his boyhood onward, Jesus' enemies sought to find him and kill him, but they sought in vain. What a contrast to his second coming. Jesus will then be noticed by everyone, for every eye will see him, and he will find his enemies, and they will not be able to flee from him. Jesus came to earth the first time as a humble, helpless baby, wearing not a prince's garb, but swaddling cloths. He lay not in a cradle, but in an animal's feeding trough. And his birthplace was not a palace, but a barn. However, when he returns, he will come as a mighty, majestic king. He'll be wrapped in a royal flowing robe, riding a royal steed, and wielding a double-edged sword. Jesus' first coming focused on bringing salvation through his atoning death to all who believe. But his second coming focuses on bringing judgment upon his enemies through their eternal death. When Jesus returns, the earth will quake one final time to usher in the final separation. Jesus will command the dead from every generation in every era of human history to be raised to life. And there will be a resurrection of both the just and the unjust, both those who believe in him and those who do not believe. The final fault line will then be formed. On Satan's side will be all those who did not believe that Jesus died for their sins, and they will be swallowed up by eternal death in hell and be forever separated from God. On Jesus' side will be all who believe that he died for their sins. They will live on the green grass of God's new creation and enjoy life in his presence from that day forward and forevermore. Will you accept Jesus' death for your sin? Or will you die for your own sin? It's a question of whose side you stand on. It's a question of where your loyalty lies, with Jesus or with Satan. Thank Jesus that if you trust in him, you need not fear his return to judge the living and the dead. Rather, you can confidently await his return as judge, for on the cross he already stood trial in your place and removed God's wrath when he bore the curse for you.